Ah, look who walked in unreadable. You beautiful, untraceable, astrologically unstable enigma. Welcome back, or should I say, welcome to the panic room. Because right now, in 12 different group chats, they're frantically scrolling through birth chart calculators, trying to decode what the hell you are. They've got your sun sign, sure. They know your moon, maybe. But your rising sign, your ascendant, that mask you wear when you step into a room, that energy that hits before you even speak, that's the part that's got them shook, sweating, second-guessing every assumption they ever made about you. Because here's the thing, they can't figure you out, and in the Zodiac-obsessed world we live in, that makes you dangerous. When someone can't pin your rising sign, it means they can't predict you, can't categorize you, can't reduce you to a neat little paragraph in a co-star notification. And that, my friend, is psychological warfare without you even lifting a finger. You're not playing the game, you're breaking the algorithm. And every astrology nerd with a Mercury in retrograde excuse is losing their mind trying to crack your code. Let's be honest, you've seen it happen, haven't you? Someone meets you, they vibe with you, maybe they're intrigued, maybe they're threatened, and within 24 hours they're asking, wait, what's your rising sign? Not because they care about astrology, but because they need a framework, a reference point, a way to box you in and feel safe again. Because the truth is, people don't actually want to understand you. They want to control the narrative around you. They want to assign you a label. Aries rising, confident and aggressive. Libra rising, charming but fake. Scorpio rising, intense and untrustworthy. So they can predict your next move and adjust theirs accordingly. But you don't fit. You shift, you adapt, you shapeshift between energies so fluidly that by the time they think they've figured you out, you've already become someone else. That's not a flaw, that's a superpower, and it's driving them absolutely insane. They thought they had you mapped out, thought they could cross-reference your mannerisms with some astrology meme, but every time they try, the pieces don't fit. You laugh like a Sagittarius rising but move through the room like a Capricorn. You have the emotional depth of a Cancer rising but the detachment of an Aquarius. You're every sign and no sign at once, and that makes you the ultimate mystery in a world obsessed with answers. Here's what they don't tell you about rising signs. It's not just about how you come across. It's about the armor you wear, the version of yourself you present to a world that's constantly trying to dissect you. It's the filter between your soul and their judgment, the energetic shield that decides what they get to see and what stays locked away. And when people can't identify your rising sign, it means your shield is impenetrable. It means you've mastered the art of selective revelation, showing just enough to keep them hooked, but never enough to let them in. That's what scares them. Not that you're hiding, but that you're in full control of what you reveal. And they're not used to that. They're used to people wearing their rising signs like billboards. Loud, obvious, performative. But you're subtle. You're layered. You're a whole damn novel disguised as a sentence. And they don't have the attention span or the depth to read between the lines. So instead of admitting they can't keep up, they panic. They theorize. They create entire group chats dedicated to solving the riddle of you. And while they're obsessing, analyzing, comparing notes like you're some kind of celestial cold case, you're out here living, evolving, completely unbothered by their desperate need to define you. You want to know why they're so obsessed with figuring out your chart? Because in their world, knowing your rising sign gives them power, or at least the illusion of it. It's like having a cheat sheet to your personality, a manual on how to approach you, manipulate you, avoid triggering you. If they know you're a Taurus rising, they'll play into your need for stability. If they think you're a Gemini rising, they'll try to outsmart you with wit. But when they can't pin you down, when every guess feels wrong, when you embody contradictions they can't reconcile, it strips them of that control, and suddenly they're the ones feeling vulnerable, exposed, powerless. Because here's the secret. You've spent your whole life adapting, shifting, surviving in spaces that weren't built for you, learning to read energy, mirror it, manipulate it, weaponize it when necessary. You've become fluent in every rising sign's language without even realizing it. You can walk into a room and be whoever you need to be. Aries rising when you need to dominate, Pisces rising when you need to disappear, Leo rising when you need to command attention, Virgo rising when you need to be underestimated. It's not fake, it's survival, it's intelligence, it's mastery over your own presence, and it's terrifying to people who are still stuck performing one-dimensional versions of themselves. Let's talk about what happens when they finally ask you directly, what's your rising sign? You could tell them, sure, give them the answer they're desperately Googling at 2 a.m. But where's the fun in that? Because the moment you confirm it, the mystery dies, the power shifts, and they get to relax again, slap a label on you, and move on. But if you smile, shrug, say something cryptic like, I don't really believe in all that, or better yet, give them the wrong one just to watch them spiral even further, you maintain the upper hand. You stay unreadable, untouchable, unknowable, and that eats at them. They'll go back to their group chats, compare your behavior against 12 different rising sign descriptions, argue about whether you're more air or water dominant, pull up your entire birth chart if they can find your birth time online, and still they'll come up empty. Because you're not a horoscope, you're not a meme, you're not a neat little paragraph someone can screenshot and say, oh my God, this is so me. You're a living, breathing contradiction that refuses to be summarized, categorized, or contained, and that's exactly why they can't stop talking about you. You've become the unsolved mystery in their feed, the one chart they can't crack, and it's killing them softly, slowly, permanently. Now let's get into the real psychology of why this bothers them so much. Why your unreadable rising sign has become their obsession, their frustration, their silent torment. It's because in the age of algorithms, astrology apps, and personality tests, people have been conditioned to believe that everyone is knowable, that with enough data points, enough compatibility charts, enough rising sign TikToks, they can decode anyone. They've turned human complexity into a game, a puzzle with a solution, and most people play along, posting their big three in their bio, explaining their trauma through their Chiron placement, using their Mercury retrograde as an excuse for being a terrible communicator. But you don't play that game, you don't hand them the answers, you don't reduce yourself to a set of planetary positions, and that breaks their system. It's like watching a computer glitch in real time. They input your behavior, cross-reference it with rising sign stereotypes, and nothing computes. Error 404, rising sign not found. And instead of accepting that maybe, just maybe, astrology isn't the end-all explanation for human behavior, they double down, they dig deeper, they refuse to believe that you're just that layered, that complex, that good at controlling your own narrative. Here's what they see when they try to analyze you. A person who walks into a room and shifts the entire energy without saying a word. That's rising sign energy, but which one? They see confidence, so maybe Aries or Leo, but then you're quiet, observant, almost invisible when you want to be, so maybe Scorpio or Capricorn. You laugh easily, connect effortlessly, so maybe Sagittarius or Libra. But there's an edge, a coldness, a detachment that doesn't match any of those, so maybe Aquarius or Virgo. You're warm but guarded, social but selective, magnetic but elusive, and every time they think they've cracked the code, you do something that contradicts their theory entirely. You're every rising sign's best and worst qualities rolled into one, and that shouldn't be possible, but here you are, living proof that the stars don't have the final say. You've transcended the chart, you've become the exception, the anomaly, the glitch in the matrix, and they can't handle it. Because if you're unreadable, if you can't be categorized, it means their entire framework for understanding people is flawed, limited, surface level at best. And that's a truth they're not ready to face. Let me tell you what's really happening in those group chats right now. Because I can see it. I can feel it. I know exactly how this plays out. Someone brings you up casually, "Hey, what do you think their rising sign is?" And immediately the theories start flying. One person says Aries because you don't back down. Another says Cancer because you've got emotional depth. Someone else argues Capricorn because you're strategic, calculated, always 3 steps ahead. Then someone screenshots one of your old posts, analyzes the caption, the vibe, the energy, and decides you're definitely a Gemini rising. But then someone else who's known you longer shuts that down, says, "No way, you're too intense for Gemini, too real, too unfiltered, you've got to be Scorpio rising." And the debate rages on, hours passing, screenshots multiplying, theories evolving, and not a single one of them gets it right. Because they're looking for a single answer to a multi-dimensional question, trying to reduce you to one archetype when you've mastered 12, embodied them all, weaponized them depending on the situation. You're not one rising sign, you're the entire Zodiac wheel, spinning faster than they can keep up, and that's why they'll never figure you out. But here's the part that really destroys them. It's not just that they can't figure out your rising sign, it's what that inability represents. It's proof that they don't know you as well as they thought, that all those months, maybe years of watching you, studying you, trying to predict you, have led them nowhere. It's proof that you've been operating on a level they can't access, moving through the world with a mastery of self-presentation that they'll never achieve. Because let's be real, most people's rising signs are obvious, painfully obvious. You can spot a Leo rising from across the room, an Aries rising within the first 5 seconds of conversation, a Libra rising the moment they compliment your outfit. But you've learned to blur the lines, to embody the energy you need in the moment without being locked into any single one. That's not astrology. That's evolution. That's survival. That's you becoming so attuned to energy that you can shift it, control it, manipulate it without conscious effort. And they feel that. They sense it. They know something about you is different, but they can't name it, can't explain it, can't find it in their astrology apps. And that cognitive dissonance is eating them alive. Now let's talk about what happens when they finally give up trying to figure it out, because that's the real surrender. The moment they realize you're not a puzzle to be solved, you're a force to be reckoned with. Some of them will bow out quietly. Stop asking questions. Stop trying to analyze every move you make. Accept that you exist beyond their comprehension. But others? The others will turn bitter, defensive, dismissive. They'll start saying things like, "Astrology isn't even that accurate," or "I don't even care about rising signs anymore," trying to act like they weren't just spending weeks obsessing over yours. They'll gaslight themselves into believing that you're not that interesting, not that complex, not that worth the mental energy. But deep down, they know the truth. They know they failed. They know you outmaneuvered them without even trying. They know that every time they see you now, they'll be reminded of their inability to crack your code. And that's the real punishment. Not that you beat them at their own game, but that you were never even playing. While they were strategizing, analyzing, theorizing, you were just existing fully, authentically, unapologetically, and somehow that was enough to make you unreadable, untouchable, unforgettable. Here's what they'll never understand. You didn't become unreadable by accident. You became unreadable by necessity. You learned early on that people use information as weapons. That once they know your triggers, your patterns, your vulnerabilities, they'll exploit them without hesitation. So you adapted, you evolved, you created layers, built walls, developed the ability to show different faces to different people without losing yourself in the process. Your rising sign isn't just an astrological placement, it's a defense mechanism, a strategic mask, a carefully curated version of yourself that protects what's underneath. And when people can't identify it, can't pin it down, can't use it against you, you remain safe, protected, in control. That's not paranoia. That's wisdom. That's you understanding the game better than the people trying to play you. Because in a world where everyone overshares, overposts, overexplains, you've mastered the art of selective mystery, revealing just enough to keep people engaged, but never enough to give them leverage. And that is why your rising sign remains a mystery, because you've decided it will be, and no amount of birth chart analysis will change that. Let me paint you a picture of what's coming next. Because this obsession with your rising sign, it's not going away anytime soon. In fact, it's going to get worse, more intense, more desperate. They're going to start looking for clues in places you didn't even think about. Your childhood photos, your old tweets, your playlist choices, the way you text, the way you laugh, the way you avoid certain questions. They'll create entire theories based on a single interaction, analyze your body language frame by frame, pull up transit charts to see if there's an explanation for your recent behavior. They'll ask mutual friends, do you know their birth time? Like it's classified information, like knowing it will finally unlock the mystery. And when that doesn't work, when every avenue leads to another dead end, some of them will make up a rising sign for you, just to give themselves peace of mind, just to stop the cognitive dissonance from tearing them apart. They'll convince themselves you're a Scorpio rising, or a Capricorn rising, or whatever makes the most sense in their narrative. And they'll cling to that theory like a lifeline, even though deep down they know it's wrong, even though every time they see you it contradicts their conclusion. But here's the beautiful, twisted irony of it all. While they're losing sleep over your chart, you're not thinking about them at all. You're not worried about whether they've figured you out, not concerned with their theories, not bothered by their obsession. Because you know something they don't, your power doesn't come from being understood, it comes from being underestimated, misread, constantly evolving beyond whatever box they try to put you in. You don't need them to know your rising sign because you don't need their validation, their categorization, their false sense of knowing you. You exist entirely outside of their framework, operating on frequencies they can't even detect, moving through spaces they can't access, building a life that doesn't require their comprehension or approval. And that's what makes you untouchable. Not that you're hidden, but that you're just operating on a different level entirely. A level where rising signs are suggestions, not sentences. Where complexity is celebrated, not feared. Where contradictions are strengths, not weaknesses. You want to know what really keeps them up at night? It's not just that they can't figure out your rising sign, it's that they're starting to realize you might not even fit into astrology's neat little categories at all. What if you're beyond the zodiac, beyond the houses, beyond the aspects and transits and progressions they've spent years studying? What if you're proof that human beings are too complex, too dynamic, too multifaceted to be reduced to planetary positions at birth? That thought terrifies them, because astrology isn't just a hobby for most of these people. It's their religion, their identity, their way of making sense of a chaotic world. And if you can exist outside of it, thriving, powerful, magnetic, without fitting into their system, what does that say about the system itself? What does that say about them? So they keep digging, keep analyzing, keep searching for an answer that will make you make sense within their framework. Because accepting that you don't fit is accepting that maybe the framework is the problem, not you. And that realization, that paradigm shift, that's too much for them to handle, so they'll keep searching forever, chasing a ghost, hunting a myth, trying to solve a riddle that was never meant to have an answer. Let's talk about power for a second. Real power. Not the performative kind, not the loud kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind that comes from knowing yourself so completely that nobody else's perception matters. That's the power you carry when your rising sign remains a mystery, when people can't read you, can't predict you, can't manipulate you. Because in every interaction you hold all the cards, you see them trying to figure you out, you watch them adjust their approach based on whatever theory they're testing, and you can choose to confirm it, contradict it, or ignore it entirely. You become the puppet master in every conversation, guiding their perceptions without them even realizing it, showing them exactly what you want them to see while keeping everything else locked away. That's not deception. That's strategy. That's survival. That's you understanding that in a world where everyone's trying to exploit your weaknesses, the smartest move is never showing your full hand. And your unreadable rising sign, that's your poker face, your shield, your secret weapon. And the fact that they're so desperate to crack it just proves how effective it is. Now let's get darker, because I know you can handle it. I know you've been to places they can't even imagine, survived things they couldn't comprehend, evolved through pain they'll never understand.